This is not just going to be a bull market. This is going to be a financial supernova that happens in the next big event. Warren Buffett has called gold a pet rock, but when the excrement impacts the air acceleration device, Charlie Munger and Warren Buffett are going to be trying to buy gold. So there are 18 times more people that can buy. They have 55 times more currency, 56 times more millionaires, 200 times more billionaires, and 220 times more available consumer credit. We are in the hyperbubble of all hyperbubbles. None of this would be possible under a money standard. If we were using money, all of these things like the bubbles that we're experiencing. This is Robert Shiller's PE ratios. It's a measurement of the value of the stock market. We're coming, according to PE ratios, we're coming off the second largest bubble in history, much larger than before the 1929 stock market crash. This is the number of hours, the average hours required to buy one share of the S&P 500. And according to this, we're not in just a super bubble, it's a hyper bubble. This is the Buffett indicator. It's a measurement of the value of the companies that make up all the publicly listed companies on the stock market versus the size of the U.S. economy. It's deflating now. This chart was done the middle of last year when I was getting ready to release the book. It also says that this isn't just a super bubble. This is a hyper bubble like the world has never experienced. This is the stock market. Nobody has this. This is only in my book. We found two economists in Europe that had released this very obscure paper where they studied 17 advanced economies in the world and taken the Buffett indicator and applied that to all of the world's advanced economies. And it goes back to the year 1870 and it absolutely proves that we are in the bubble century, and this stops in 2016. The U.S. stock market is 60% of global stock market capitalization. If we took this out to 2023, it would literally go right off the top of this chart. We are in the hyperbubble of all hyperbubbles. This is real estate, and according to Dr. Robert Shiller of Yale University, a Nobel laureate, real estate needs to come down by more than 50% just to get back into balance with the rest of the economy. Hyperbubble. This is a very scary chart. I compiled this chart off of two sets of data, the S&P and then the Russell 3000. They don't match exactly, so in the middle, it may be off 1% here or there or 0.5%, but that doesn't matter. It's the trend that you've got to look at. These zombie companies are companies that cannot afford to pay the interest on their debt, let alone the principal, just the interest. So they're borrowing against accounts receivable, they're borrowing against buildings and equipment and such to be able to pay that interest. These are the companies that are most likely to go bankrupt, and this is something that you've heard about, the coming depression, the coming crash. This is something you really should be worried about. This isn't the thing that people are looking for the next, mortgage-backed security crisis. This is the big crisis. Back in the year 2000, there was 1 in 30 companies that were in this condition. Today, it is 1 in 5. Can you imagine 1 in every 5 companies going bankrupt or needing a bailout? And guess who pays for a bailout? You do. You foot the bill for all of this craziness. This could not happen if we used money. This can only happen if you use national fiat currencies. The world is drowning in debt. Japan and Hong Kong. Now, this isn't just national debt. This is national, private, and corporate debt in each country. Japan and Hong Kong owe more than 6 years of their entire economic output. Singapore and Canada owe more than 5 years. Great Britain, Sweden, Euro area, Norway owe more than 4 years, and the USA, South Korea, and China owe more than 3 years. The world is drowning in debt, and everybody is writing about this and talking about this. But nobody that I know of is asking the important question, the moral question: to whom do we owe? The world owes 3.5 years of its entire economic output to somebody. Who had 3.5 years of the value, the comparative value of the GDP of the entire planet to loan us? Who had that much? The answer is nobody. We created a special class of human being that is allowed to commit fraud, theft, and enslavement, and they have enslaved the entire world, and this is creating banking laws where they allow fictional reserve banking. This is the amount of, there's $93 trillion that we owe in the United States. There is $20 trillion to pay the bill with. That's what is owed. This is impossible under a system that uses money. This is bank deposits. This is 90% of the population is represented by the blue line, 10% is represented by the red line, and so 9 out of 10 people shared 52% of the deposits. 1 out of 10 owned 48% of the deposits. But since Ben Bernanke's, we're coming up to the Bernanke bust. That's what this crash is going to be. 10% they shared 48%. Now they own 66%, twice as much as the other 9 out of every 10 people. This is a picture of the wealth disparity and income inequality that is tearing the planet apart at the seams right now, and it can only happen under a fiat currency system. We do not use money, we use fiat currency, so when you leave this room, never again call the dollar, the euro, the yen, the pound money. They are national fiat currencies that are created through theft, fraud, and enslavement, and calling them money is bestowing accolades and respect that they do not deserve. They deserve your scorn and contempt. This is one of the most important charts in this presentation. I asked my researchers, for every dollar the U.S. borrows, what do we get back? And after World War II, we would borrow $1 and we'd get between $6 and $8 worth of GDP growth. But as we build up the debt and we owe more and more interest, this declines. And after 2008, this went negative and it stayed negative since 2008. Today, when we borrow $1, we get 50 cents worth of GDP growth. This chart is the one that says we're screwed. There is no way out of this. We are screwed. This chart is something that the politicians all want to ignore. They think we can borrow our way to prosperity, and they're trying to prove it right now with this $1.4 trillion hole that they're digging for us with the deficit this year. So, what are the dollars in your pocket and the digits in your bank account? I believe they are evidence of crimes committed against all of humanity. Fraud, theft, and enslavement. This is what fiat currency creates, not money. Money creates prosperity. So this is the great asset race of the 1970s. The performance of the 1970s until the day that gold and silver peaked in January of 1980. The stock market went up 1.4 times. The real estate went up 2.3 times. Gold went up 25.1 times, a physical asset that you can hold in your hand, that cannot go bankrupt, that does not require the performance of a counterparty to be good. And silver went up 41.3 times. If you had sold a home back in the early 70s and bought silver, by the time January of 1980 came, you could sell your silver and buy 16 homes. And it was 8.5 years of this bull market. 16 times gains in true wealth. Then, this time around, back in the 80s, there was only 10%, in the 70s, peaking in 1980, 10% of the world, the population, that could legally buy gold and silver or afford it. Mexico, South America, Africa were just dirt poor, starving to death. It was illegal to buy gold in the USSR and Mao's China. Gold bars and coins were illegal in India. And there were no exchanges in any of this place. The spot price was set by the Mercantile Exchange in Chicago and the London Bullion Exchange. Those are the two places that set the worldwide spot price. So, today, everyone can buy it. There are 18 times more people. It's only North Korea where gold is illegal. These are the number of billionaires. There's more than 600 billionaires in China and the US, and then this is 50 to 599 in all of the green countries, and 1 to 50 in the blue countries. It's a completely different world. The OECD says that there is 55 times more currency on the planet than January of 1980 when gold and silver peaked. The currency that is currently on the sidelines waiting to seek some sort of safe haven, this is cash and checking accounts. This is money market funds, and this is available consumer credit, and it's over $16 trillion. This is not just going to be a bull market. This is, a supernova implodes at first and then explodes. This is going to be a financial supernova that happens in the next big event. And if you think Warren Buffett and Charlie Munger are going to buy Bitcoin, you got another thing coming. Warren Buffett has called gold a pet rock, but when the excrement impacts the air acceleration device, Charlie Munger and Warren Buffett are going to be trying to buy gold. So there are 18 times more people that can buy. They have 55 times more currency, 56 times more millionaires, 200 times more billionaires, and 220 times more available consumer credit than in 1980. And if you go to ggsr21.com, you can click on online chapters. Read chapters 3 and 4. Chapter 3, friendly, short. You're going to learn every way that you can create a chart that lies to you so you can see if some author is trying to skew your perception. Chapter 4, hardest chapter in the book. I rewrote it dozens of times before the book was printed, then cut it from the book and rewrote it another dozen times to try and explain how the global economy works, how currency is created and everything. And it's still not easy. It's in 7 parts. Read that, download these. There's no catch. We're not going to ask for your email address or anything. If you want to buy the book, you just click that button up there. You can go to GGSR21, read the book for free. If you want to buy precious metals, I founded GoldSilver.com in 2005, and we are very, very competitive with everyone else out there. It's a business where you're just making a tiny fraction. So I want to thank you for this. That is the end of my presentation. Thank you.
Mike Maloney, ladies and gentlemen.
Thanks for watching, but this is by no means the whole story. If you want the full story, including my free online-only chapters and companion videos, there's a wealth of information at ggsr21.com. Thanks.